Hello everyone, this PowerPoint lecture will be talking about the theme of drugs and alcoholism, and the sub-theme is hallucinogens, which is the topic of your selection. The lecture will include the following points. 1. Overview of the effects of drugs or drug abuse on humans. Defining hallucinogens and their effects, reading discussion of new selection related to the above topic, hallucinogenic plant ayahuasca gains foothold in the US. Finally, answering referential, inferential, critical thinking, and organizational skills questions related to the above text. So let's begin. Observe the diagram below and comment on the effects of drug abuse on humans. Okay. The title, Negative Effects of Substance Abuse. Substance abuse is either drugs, alcohol, smoking, etc. Let's take a thorough look here at this diagram. Notice systematic effects: hyperthermia, meaning low blood temperature; malnutrition, people stop eating properly; impaired immune system, their immune system drops; on the circulatory system, high blood pressure; vessel damage, your veins and your arteries get damaged; vessel damage in the brain, this is a very serious condition; clotting and stroke. Clotting is when the blood cells stick together and they cause a stroke, either in the brain, in the heart, or in different parts of the body. Heart-wise, it causes chest pain, rapid heart rate, and heart attack, all very serious health conditions. Eyes, dilated pupils, which makes the light come into the eyes and thus damages the vessels in the eyes. Mouth, grinding your teeth, maybe while sleeping or even when awake. Skin, sweating, numbness, you don't feel things as you should. Respiratory symptoms, shortness of breath, this is a serious condition which could lead to death. Muscular conditions, jerky movements, uncontrollable. Increased activity, you don't know what you're doing, you're just hyper all the time. Convulsions, involuntary muscle movement, and loss of coordination. You cannot coordinate your hands on feet and other organs. You can't coordinate the way they move. So out of all these conditions, which symptom does this drug seem to have major negative effects on? From what we saw, drug abuse seems to have very detrimental, means destructive, effects on the heart and blood circulatory system of humans. It causes serious conditions such as high blood pressure, vessel damage, arteries and veins, and heart attacks, in addition to blood clotting, sticking of the blood cells in the veins. So what can you infer about drug use from what we saw in the diagram? Obviously, we can infer that drug abuse has dangerous impacts on different parts of the human body, such as the heart and circulatory system, the brain and nervous system, respiratory system, and other organs of the body. It does a general damage to all our organs, of course. Moving on, what are hallucinogens? Hallucinogens are types of drugs, and explain their effects. What type of drugs are hallucinogens? Hallucinogens are drugs that cause hallucinations. A hallucination is when a person experiences things, sees things, hears things that do not exist. Okay? When a person takes a hallucinogen, they start hearing stuff, they start seeing stuff that's not even there. Okay? Hallucinations. Okay? Some serious effects of hallucinogens are difficulty in speech and thought, weight loss, depression, and finally memory loss. Okay? Moving on, now let's listen to the first part of our reading selection, which is about the abuse of a hallucinogenic plant called ayahuasca. Okay, read the below text in which Veronique Dupont reported on the U.S. current concern about ayahuasca, the Amazon plant used to overcome addiction and other spiritual ailments, but it turns to be a new subject for addiction. When you are through with the reading, answer the questions that follow. Okay, Los Angeles, Dominique was hooked on cocaine and smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day until she stumbled onto ayahuasca, a hallucinogenic drug that she says has changed her life. The French-American woman who lives in Los Angeles and did not want her real name used is among thousands of people across the United States who are increasingly turning to the powerful psychedelic brew, psychedelic means hallucinogenic, from the Amazon to overcome addiction, depression, or psychological trauma. So obviously what we note from paragraph 1 is that Dominique was a drug addict and she resorted to ayahuasca in order to overcome her addiction, even though ayahuasca is a drug. Okay. Now, the potion prepared and consumed as part of a shamanic ritual, a certain religious ritual in a certain cult, is especially gaining following in Hollywood and Silicon Valley. Thousands are flocking to sample the elixir. Elixir is a certain potion, okay, and swear by its therapeutic properties, therapeutic treatment, despite warnings from scientists and users that ayahuasca can be dangerous and even prove fatal, especially when mixed with other drugs. Ayahuasca's proponents, who include celebrities such as Sting, Paul Simon, Tori Amos, and Lindsay Lohan, say that the plant has given them a certain good experience. Now, in reference to paragraph 1, how has the ayahuasca plant changed the life of Dominique? Okay, we see here in the next part, it has helped her to overcome addiction, depression, and psychological trauma. The ayahuasca plant has changed the life of Dominique, who has become among thousands of people across the United States who are increasingly turning to the powerful psychedelic brew from the Amazon to overcome addiction, depression, or psychological trauma. Trauma is a shock, okay? Now, okay, so I displayed paragraph 2 for you. Identify the reason that made people rely on ayahuasca elixir. Does it always seem safe? Of course, it's not safe. People are flocking to sample the elixir and swear by its therapeutic properties, despite warnings from scientists and users that it could be dangerous and even fatal, meaning deadly, especially when mixed with other drugs. So people think that it has a certain therapeutic properties. Answer: the reason that made people rely on the ayahuasca elixir is because of its being part of a shamanic ritual of therapeutic properties. It is not always safe because it often turns into abuse and addiction, and it could be fatal when mixed with other drugs. Now, moving on, a continuation of paragraph 3, Hollywood stars who swear by its therapeutic properties. It offers a spiritual experience like no other. Many also say it allowed them to overcome traumas and no other conventional therapy can tackle. Paragraph 4, according to Dennis McKenna, assistant professor of the University of Minnesota's Center for Spirituality and Healing, some 100 clandestine, meaning secret, ayahuasca ceremonies are held nightly in New York and other cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco. McKenna said it is difficult to get a firm count of the number of ceremonies held across the country, as ayahuasca contains the hallucinogenic drug dimethyltryptamine, DMT, which is illegal in the United States. Okay? For it is in the same category as ecstasy and heroin, which are very potent drugs. Now, in paragraph 5, 2 Brazilian churches in the western United States that use ayahuasca as a sacrament are exempt from the ban. So they're allowed to use the drug because it's part of their religious ritual. Firm believers in ayahuasca say they drink the foul tasting, meaning very bad tasting, DMT only at intervals of several months and must observe a strict diet before sampling the brew. The church ceremonies are often held outdoors. Now, after having read this, according to what is mentioned in paragraph 3, what is exceptional about the ayahuasca drug? Okay, here's paragraph 3. Okay, it has therapeutic properties, as it offers a spiritual experience like no other. Many also say it allowed them to overcome traumas that no other conventional therapy can tackle. Conventional therapy meaning normal therapy where you go to a doctor who treats you. Okay, this is unconventional. Question number 4, in reference to paragraph 4, is the use of ayahuasca legal in the United States? From what we read, of course it's not, because it contains the drug dimethyltryptamine, DMT, which is illegal in the United States, same category as ecstasy and heroin. Okay, this is why it's illegal, but there's only one exception. The use of ayahuasca is illegal in the United States, for it is considered in the same category as ecstasy and heroin. However, some 100 clandestine ayahuasca ceremonies are held nightly in New York and other cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco. Okay, here continuation of paragraph 5. The ceremonies usually accompanied by meditation and spiritual songs called Icaros. This is the Brazilian church. Users of ayahuasca describe a sort of out-of-the-body experience that allows them to confront some of their worst fears. I saw pink and violet swallows and green geometric shapes, recalled Leonard. This makes me discard my problems. And in paragraph 6, the author continues to talk about visions that could sometimes be darker. Okay, not always nice and colorful and pink. Okay, a lot of vomiting might be involved, purging. Okay, people might become nervous. Okay, youngsters might be left under a bad impact, and ayahuasca does leave scores of victims behind, so it's dangerous. Some say they come out of the experience with no distinct revelation, while others describe a radical transformation. I stopped smoking, started meditating and reconnecting with nature, Leonard said, and I made peace with my parents. The effects of the brew have prompted growing interest among scientists and researchers like Jessica Nielsen, a University of California, San Francisco neuroscientist who is studying ayahuasca. Nielsen said she became interested in the potion after trying it herself while on a trip to Peru. 2 people I was with in Peru who had severe PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. This is a condition where you suffer from severe trauma after a certain horrible accident. She seemed totally healed just after, she said, but I'm afraid that teenagers and other irresponsible people will turn into addiction as a result of its abuse. So some people use it, yet some people abuse it, use it in a wrong way. Now, paragraph 8, Charles Grubb, a psychiatrist at Harbor UCLA Medical Center, who studied ayahuasca's use in a Brazilian church, said he is seeing a shift in attitude towards the brew and growing acceptance that it may be worth studying. Western medicine and psychiatry often struggle in treating substance abusers and alcohol abusers, Grubb said. So it's certainly worth looking at, while scientists in the United States, we'll continue that after answering this question. According to paragraph 6, why is the use of the ayahuasca plant described as terrifying? Okay, such visions, however, are often accompanied by darker ones that are described as terrifying. You know, they have darker visions, experienced vomiting or purging, become nervous without it. So there's addiction here. And it's like being under the impact of cocaine and marijuana. Ayahuasca leaves scores of victims behind. Answer: The use of ayahuasca plant is described in paragraph 6 as terrifying because of having some dark sides. This substance causes vomiting. It is described as purging. People who use it regularly become so nervous without it, so this is a sign of addiction. The substance leaves them under the same impact of cocaine and marijuana. It leaves scores of victims behind. Moving on to the last part, confronting the legal obstacles here in studying the brew. Much research has been conducted in other countries, notably Spain and Brazil, where ayahuasca is legal. Grubb cited a pilot study in Brazil involving people suffering from chronic depression who didn't respond well to antidepressant. The preliminary results are positive, according to Grubb. Paragraph 9. Still, scientists caution that the brew can be dangerous, especially if mixed with other drugs, and should be avoided by those who have asthma, suffer from epilepsy, and are bipolar or schizophrenic. Those are very serious mental conditions, as the concoction can trigger psychotic episodes. Obviously, it's a hallucinogen. When those people take this drug, they will see and hear things that do not exist, okay? You have to screen people to make sure everybody is mentally up for the experience, Jeff said. So those people are out of question to use it, okay? Because it obviously triggers psychotic episodes. Paragraph 10, the worst I've had is somebody who was screaming for a couple of hours, he added. But he was fine the next day and came back. Still, the fear is that many people are using it to overcome addiction, but in return, okay, they're using it to overcome addiction, but in return, what happens? They become ayahuasca addicts. This is very ironic and dangerous. Globally, there's too much abuse of the substance, mainly among Hollywood celebrities, yet governments should take strict stance in its face so that they don't reach the point like what happened with marijuana. Still, the two big questions are, to what extent should one stand silent in the face of abusing substances under the excuse of medication? Should action plans and awareness campaigns be instantly considered? Okay, so according to some people, this drug is great. It has helped them recover from certain mental or medical conditions, from certain addictions. However, it is being abused by many, especially among teenagers, okay, where the medicine becomes your ailment, okay? Now, question number 6. Based on Grubb's pilot study mentioned in paragraph 8, what conclusions can you draw about the ayahuasca plant use? Okay, we read this thoroughly. What conclusions can we draw? What we conclude about the ayahuasca plant use is that there is a current concern in many countries about this substance. It seems that it has some positive results according to the studies conducted on it. The research findings are promising. Organizational skills questions. How does DuPont introduce her article? What purposes does that serve? The technique DuPont uses in introducing the main idea of the text is anecdote, short, interesting story. The writer starts the text with a brief narration of a lady named Dominique. The purpose is to introduce the main idea. I asked you for 3 purposes, always do. Which is about addiction to substances and plants. Another purpose is to attract the reader's attention and arouse their interest in reading more about this issue, such as getting more ideas, especially after knowing that Dominique has turned from addiction into an activist. A third purpose is to provide some background information about the plant of ayahuasca. Moving on. There is a touch of irony about the ayahuasca plant in the closing paragraph. We talked about that. Identify this irony. There are 3 types of irony, guys. Verbal, when you say something but you mean something else. Oh, that dress looks great on you, when the dress is actually horrible. You're being ironic. Dramatic irony, this is like in movies or in stories or in plays where the audience knows something that the actor doesn't, or vice versa. The actor knows something that the audience still doesn't. This is called dramatic irony. However, situational irony occurs when the outcome of an event or circumstance is opposite of what's expected. Like, for example, a doctor who becomes ill. Okay, a situational irony that's happening nowadays is doctors who are treating coronavirus, however, they are dying of the disease. This is situational irony. You also have, for example, the policeman who steals. Okay, many things. Okay, the outcome is opposite of what's expected. In this case, this is the ending paragraph where they talked about people getting addicted to this so-called therapeutic drug. There is situational irony because it's a situation, okay? It's not verbal, it's not dramatic. The irony is that many people are using the ayahuasca plant as a cure to overcome addiction, but in return they become ayahuasca addicts. This is ironic. Okay? Identify the thematic relationship between each of the following sentences. Sentence 1 and 2 in paragraph 3. Okay, this is sentence 1. Of course, it ends here. And this is sentence 2. What's the thematic relationship between them, having read them? Ayahuasca proponents, who include celebrities such as Sting, Paul Simon, Tori Amos, and Lindsay Lohan, say the plant offers a spiritual experience like no other. Many also say it allowed them to overcome traumas that no other conventional therapy can tackle. Okay, so here it could be either cause-effect, perfectly correct, or addition and support. Both answers are equally accurate. Paragraph 10, sentences 2 and 3. Let's take a look at sentence 2. This is sentence 2. It starts here and it ends here. But he was fine the next day he came back. Still, the fear is that many people are using it to overcome addiction. In return, they become addicts, ayahuasca addicts. So, okay, here, what pattern of organization is used in paragraph 9? Justify your answer. Okay, still scientists caution that the brew can be dangerous, especially if mixed with other drugs, and should be avoided by those who have asthma, suffer from epilepsy, and are bipolar or schizophrenic. Okay, here we notice a cause-effect relationship. Equally, if you write classification or listing, it is correct because they are listing 3 different types of people that are not allowed to use this type of drug. The pattern of organization used in paragraph 9 is cause-effect. I chose this answer. In this paragraph, the scientists are cautioning that the plant can be dangerous, especially if mixed with other drugs, and should be avoided by those who have asthma, suffer from epilepsy, etc. These are some of the consequences, so this is why it's cause-effect, that might result from taking the ayahuasca substance. Okay, true or false? Correct the false ones. Hollywood celebrities rely on the ayahuasca plant for its emotional and spiritual impacts on them. True. The ayahuasca plant is illegal on all the United States territories. It is illegal. However, it is legal in 2 Brazilian churches. So this is false. 3 opponents of the drug plant show their fear of its danger on teenagers despite being less effective than other types of drugs. False. It's potent, especially when mixed with other types of drugs. Number 4, Grubbs research. Okay, moving on to chart analysis. The following chart or table shows the percentage of drug consumptions in different contexts in the world. Okay, here what they mean is not country, continent, of course. Africa, Latin America, Europe, Southeast Asia. They didn't mention which age group. 2017, 60% in Africa, 70% in Latin America, 20% in Europe, 55% Southeast Asia. 2018 also they gave us percentages. What can you conclude? This table, first of all, we know we start with a topic sentence taken directly from the title of the chart. This table depicts the consumption of drugs in some corners of the world in the years 2017 and 2018. In the year 2017, the consumption of drugs in Africa scored 60%, 70% in Latin America, etc. However, these rates changed in 2018 to 57, 65, 17, and 48 in Africa, Latin America, Europe, and Southeast Asia, respectively. Okay. These percentages indicate that the drug consumption in Latin America scores the highest in 2017, while Europe the lowest. This means that Latin, okay, etc. However, the rates changed in 2018. It decreases in all the mentioned areas. There is little decrease in Africa, Europe, and Southeast Asia. Latin America had a significant decrease of 25%. So, first you have to write the topic sentence, then you have to analyze all the numbers, write what they mean, and finally you need a concluding sentence. Okay?